Everyone, thank you to everyone for showing up today on the first Indie Takeover. Basically, we have taken over the panel room as indie comic book creators. We want to not only open conversations with you guys, but actually explain to you what it is to be in indie comics. We wanted to start with a very powerful panel this morning about diversity and about sexual equality in comic books, because I think it's very important. Very often, before it happens in the world, it happens in comic books. And that's a true thing that's happened throughout the reality of lifetime. My name is Mr. Anderson, and I am the Indie Advocate, also known as the Devilish Indie Creator. I have two monikers because they do two very different things. I support all my brethren and sister indie creators with Indie Advocates. I give them a platform that we all need to be able to promote our stuff freely without someone judging us, and allowing us to have a voice, and allowing the audience to tell us if they like it or don't. And I am the Devilish Indie Creator because I create books about fetish, monsters, and more. You can find out more about that in our little room out there, where we have set up all of the creators' books, and you can talk about that or ask questions during the panel. Q&A is allowed at any point. We don't have a specific time for Q&A. You guys have given us your time. We want to make sure that we're doing the most we can for it. I hated when people talked for a half an hour about themselves when I was at a panel and I had a question I wanted to ask. So I'm done talking about me. We're going to start down here, move straight across. The panelists will introduce yourselves and where you can be followed.
Yeah. Hi everyone, it's a pleasure to meet you all. First of all, I want to say thank you for coming to Daytona and Comics Table. It means a lot for us when we have people that come and support what we do. My name is Terrence Baker, and I've been drawing comics for as long as I can remember. In 2013, I created a small group of folks at ICC, Independent Creators Convention. We started with 20 people. Today, I'm happy to say that we have over 9,000 folks. We have writers, artists, creators, folks, you name it, everything within the house. Myself, I published individually, along with the help of some others, over 30 comic books that are available on the planet, print on demand, and I sell them in conventions and some comic book stores in the I'm an independent artist. I've been drawing ever since I could pick up a pencil, since I was a kid, and it's just something that I'm passionate about. So I'm here to answer any questions that you may have. I've been doing the scene now for about maybe 5 or 6 years. I participate in a lot of conventions, TaberCon, Telecon. I even throw my own conventions, ICC. And I'm happy to be here. I'm glad Rob invited us. And I'm joyful to meet some of the other panel members today who I've never met. So I'm open to any questions that you guys may have. That's Terrence Baker.
Hi, my name is Albert Page. I'm the creator of Chess, Short Fuse Media. You can find me on the Facebook page, Project Chess. And like Terrence, similar to Terrence, I've been doing comics for a little while. Over the years, changed over the storyline, but always stuck to chess, all these characters, and just having fun doing it. And it's a pleasure being here along with everybody else and having a chance to answer some questions. And my topic as well as outside. We'll have to take a look at it on the way out.
Hello, my name is Dorothy, and I've been writing comics since 2015. The reason why I started writing comics was when I was bored around inside comics. I've written a couple of comics for other creators. My book is about a Haitian American superhero. One day sneaking out, she suffers severe consequences. It's still an ongoing series. I love writing comics. My inspiration was because of Raven and Wonder Woman. And I am with Short Fuse Media, just where you can find my book, and on Facebook, Spirit's Destiny Universe.
Hello, I'm Marcus Roberts. I have been an avid comic book collector all my life. We'll say for the last 45 years I've collected comic books. I joined the comic book community about 6 years ago as a freelance writer for the World of Black Heroes website. I've written articles on everything from comic books and war to comic books in the LGBT community. I have my own comic books as well. Project Nexus, you can find it at Project Nexus Facebook page, The Protector as go to worldofblackheroes.com and look up some of the articles I've written. I've gone under the pseudonym of Black Hero Marcus. You can Google that and that stuff will come up as well.
All right, guys, if you don't have any questions for the panelists at this moment, I would just like to ask each one to describe to them why diversity in comic books is so personally important to them. Because I think a lot of people talk about, you know, why we have to have it. But I think people forget that there's a personal connection that comes with comic books. I want you guys to hear from everyone on the panel how comic books have kind of spoken to them like the real world hasn't. Because the real world can be an ugly place. We can all see that at times with bullying and all that. Sometimes we escape in the comic books. So if the panelists could just take a couple minutes and explain to me why not only diversity was important to them, or be it sexual equality, but also how it inspired you. Because if you're writing a comic book, I feel like there's something about that inspired you because you felt you have a story to tell. So if we could just explore that for a few minutes, it'd be great. So why don't we start reverse this time? We'll start back down there.
Okay, well, two things as far as diversity is concerned. As I said, I've been collecting comic books a long time. And as a kid, 2nd grade, 3rd grade, 4th grade, I and my friends who were various ethnicities, various colors, would play together. And we would play out the roles of the people in comic books. As we got older, we started drifting apart. And so I say that the lack of diversity in comic books comes from a learned behavior. Because as children, we don't know anything about hate, we don't know anything about prejudice, we don't know anything about any of the things that affect adults. We just want to have fun. As we grow older and we start learning about this, we become almost xenophobic. We only want to be around ourselves. We only want to be around our own. And because it's a learned behavior, we learn not to diversify. Now, as far as the sexual equality, as recently as 2012, the Hub Network, remember the cartoon Shazam? Shazam was about a boy who turned into a woman, a superwoman. Now, then they said we weren't ready for that. But if we could have taken advantage of the momentum that that cartoon had, then the sexual equality in comics wouldn't even be a conversation, because it is the natural progression of culture, the natural progression of things. We don't have one specific gender. We have a gender, but we have people who are transgender. We have people who identify as other genders. So we have to accommodate them if we want consumers of comic books, which is what we want. We want people to buy books. So if we want people to buy books, we have to be all inclusive of everyone who is a potential consumer of the book. That's something.
Grow up as a little girl, you know, I've always envisioned a superhero or any character that resembles me and my culture. You know, there's not a lot of Haitian superheroes or a lot of Haitian characters. I've read about Dr. Voodoo and his brothers, but those are male characters. They're not female characters. And I'm part of the LGBT community. Like, I wanted stories that's not stereotypical, like they always stereotype, you know, people from the LGBT community, or how some diverse characters react, or their persona. So I wanted to bring a much more authentic background, you know, cultural differences, you know, because most people want to learn about our background, because I'm Haitian. It's not only about voodoo. Like, we have different characteristics that I want to bring into the comics. So this is why I think diversity is very important. People are tired of seeing the same thing. We want change.
I completely agree with that, and sometimes we get lost in exactly what diversity is and what it means, and even within just being a white kid, I can tell you that diversity didn't always find me. I'm Ukrainian. Ukrainians are usually used as bad guys in our culture. we're actually been made into the bad guys because we were a part of the USSR growing up. And it wasn't a choice for that culture, but again, ostracized because of who they were forced to be under. So I understand it. I understand that if you don't have that representation in a media, it's very, disheartening. Not to be able to look at something and go, hey, look, that's something I'm from. And it's not being a bad guy, it's actually now a good guy, and it shows something. And I totally get that. One of the most powerful messages I've ever heard about it is that there are these little kids who now go to see Spider-Man, the new Spider-Man. Who's seen the new Spider-Man? The Morales one. So that's inspiring a whole new generation to feel like they can be empowered and that they can be part of something that is amazing and different and new, and that there isn't a skin type that goes along with it. And it goes exactly with the whole sexual side of it. I want to erase the word normal from the dictionary. I think normal is one of the worst words we've ever come up with. Because to me, normal is boring. Normal means that you live in a box. And I am the unboxable advocating creative. I don't live in boxes. I have different tastes. I appreciate people who have different tastes. I appreciate people who are different than me. If I made a room full of me, there'd be a civil war and the world would end because we'd all fight each other all day. And that's what's happening in our world right now. Because we're all getting together with the same people and having big voices, but we're not listening to each other anymore, are we? We're not having conversations. We're not sitting in enough panels like this talking about the importance of each other and the importance of our cultures being represented within medias like comic books. And I think comic books are the most empowering way to have that conversation, because as indie creators, we can be fearless. We can create whatever we want. And trust me, I just recently went through this with my own Kickstarter. I got beat up by a lot of censoring. I got beat up by a lot of people telling me what was normal and what was okay. And I took the beating, and I'm not backing down. We're going to come right back. We're going to come back stronger. We're going to figure out a title that might not get us so much heat, and we'll battle and we'll change it. Because I go back to the whole thing. Comic books started with Wonder Woman talking about sexual genders, talking about sexual roles, talking about things that now we're bashful about. Wonder Woman was talking about in the 1930s. How do we go so far back in our culture? And that's why I think diversity is important, because I think right now more than ever, we're not looking at each other. We're looking only at groups, and we're deciding what team we're playing for. And I think that's the worst thing we can. Diversity is not just about promoting every ethnic group, every gender, every sexual orientation, but it's about also becoming a melting pot back in America. I grew up in New York. Paige, you're with me on this. You're all stuck with each other. You all hate each other the same way. You're all in the same mix. You're all in the same subway car. We just people. We're just folks in New York, right?
Yeah, that's it.
And you come out here and it's a little different. You see a different world, and you're suddenly growing up in New York. You don't expect this in the world around you. And that's why diversity is so important to me, because I didn't realize how much it's needed, both in comic books and in media right now, more than ever. So to me, that's why this is an important panel and a discussion that we need to be having at every convention. Your turn.
Just to add to what he's saying, that's the fun of creating comic books, is taking any character from any background and expanding in any direction you want to take them. Strong female leads, strong male leads, children's comic books. Take a character and form it outside the element, and that's just the fun part of writing. You could take what, if you want to say something that bothers you, you could express it in the comic book. Take a character at a certain level to another certain level, you could do that in the comic book. And you just have the freedom to really write how you want to write that character and how you want the audience to respond to that character. Fill out your audience. And you could take subjects that's in the media, you could take things that's going on around the world, and just really make your own storyline and express that the way you want to. So that's the best thing about being a comic book creator. When you come to a panel like this, you find all types of titles that go in different directions, and you can fill it out the way you want.
Well, first of all, let me say thanks for having me on the panel today. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Tom. And I see my old buddy back there, Rick, the True Aquaman. I want to thank everybody who supports the community as a whole. It's nice to be on a panel with Mark Stoffies and Paige. These guys are fantastic creators. To me, diversity is important because, let's just face it, we all grew up with Superman and Batman. Okay, we all love them because of the way they presented in the media. We were conditioned to them. That was the only thing we ever saw. As time goes on, you get more people in the field, more people into the medium, and you're able to bring your own imagination to the same forefront, the same medium. You become more exposed to being able to publish, to softwares, to make your own comics, and we all have ideas. Everybody has ideas. Probably my most popular character is the Pink Hammer, which is back here. I created her based on the thesis of my wife. She's a strong African-American woman, and she came up in, this is a real life story. My wife was coming from a family where her grandmother raised her, okay? She joined the military, she made the independent world happen for her on her own. She's a very strong woman. I wanted to bring that kind of character to a superhero, so I created Tasha Brown, aka the Pink Hammer. My books are out there available to the public. The character grew and became very popular. She actually is starring in the YouTube series. Hernandez from New York. She's been cosplayed by a few people, even people I haven't met in Philadelphia cosplayed my character. To me, that's huge. That's a big thing. So it's important when you create a character that appeals to a lot of people. And she's a woman. She's a strong woman. She doesn't always look like that. She does have a personality otherwise. But storyline, I'm very proud of because I try to put some realism in it. She lost her family in Hurricane Katrina, and she gets this power. She decides to use it for good to help everyone. There's a whole slew of other stories behind that, a plethora of characters that I have in Baker Comics. But it's important that you bring your own vision to the world, and that's why I think diversity is important.
Thank you all for sharing with us. Do you guys have any questions? I can keep talking.
Any
If you do, feel free to jump in.
You know how you say like it would be boring to have a bunch of views?
Yeah.
You made it sound like, you know, Rick and Morty, the Macy's.
Yeah.
Mr. Macy's.
Well, Macy's was kind of different. Have you ever noticed they did change as they went? You notice how Rick is totally bored by the other Ricks? Rick doesn't want to be around the other Ricks. Rick is like, I hate all these. He calls the Citadel of Ricks idiots, remember? He's like, you're all boring because they're all like him. They're all so arrogant. And that's what we have now, groups that are so arrogant and screaming at each other that they're right. And I say this all the time. If your best friend is constantly telling you right, you don't have a best friend, you have an echo machine. Because your best friend should be like, dude, you suck, man. That's totally wrong. I grew up in the 90s. We had fun making fun of our friends like no one else did. Like, we'd look at each other and be like, really, that's how you're going out today? Okay, you've given up. I understand. You've given up on everything now, and you're just going to be homeless. Like, come on, man, it's not that bad. No, it's not that bad if you're homeless. You know, which apparently you're now aiming to be. But that's what we would do. And not to make fun of homeless people. I know that this is like a new time, and we've gotten to a point where we're so sensitive about everything, but we have to be able to make jokes too. I'm with George Carlin, who said that if we can't make jokes, we're all going to be in trouble. And that's where we are now, because we're not making enough jokes. It's okay to be a little funny with each other. It's not okay to hate each other. And I think that's the difference we no longer see. We take everything as hate when it's not. Hate is ugly. Hate should never be shown anywhere. Not on TV, not on the media. CNN and Fox both need to be taken off the air, and the rules of what news is should be rewritten so they can't do what they do. Because we no longer tell the news, we tell opinions, and that's dangerous. But that's what is great about indie comics, is that we're kind of correcting a lot. Like, a lot of things these guys are writing now are breaking barriers in ways that haven't been, and they show you what's really going on. Victor Dandridge can't be here. He's all the way out in Michigan, but he wrote The Samaritan, and I grew up in an inner city, Jamaica, Queens. I spent a lot of time there, and some of the things I saw there really reminded me of a real world that you could see a hero being caught in. That's beauty. That's realism. And media's afraid. Like right now, movies are afraid to do what we're doing. But they'll do it one day. They're starting to now with all the stuff that's coming up. I mean, look, we recently had that overweight superhero becoming a movie. Finally, there's representation. You know? I never understood that. I never understood why every superhero had to be beautiful. And as a guy...
If you think about it, mainstream a lot of times, there's so many reboots going on every year.
Yeah.
I mean, who's not tired of a reboot? I mean, every 6 months you're trying to change it to appeal.
This one will be
The
casted.
bottom line is you should just create brand new characters, you know, individual characters that you create.
Now, the interesting thing to me, and being a little older than everyone else, I kind of go back a little further. But what we're doing now in the independent comic industry, this was started actually back in the 70s in the underground because
I
you
see
had.
it started back in the 30s.
Well, in the third.
We got hammered down by the government. The government hammered us down when we tried.
The comics code
Destroyed
came
what
out
we started.
in the 50s. And when the comics code came out, one of the very first things they did, and this will go straight to diversity.
Yeah.
One of the very first things they did was there was a story in a horror comic about an astronaut that gets sent off from Earth. They changed the color of the astronaut from black to white in order for that comic to be published. They would not let the publisher publish the comic book with the black astronaut. So they had to change the color of the astronaut to white in order for them to publish it.
And it didn't stop there.
And as far as the sexuality in comics, historically, the first gay character in comic books, 1941, Fire right there, from early DC Comics Company. But they only hinted at his sexuality, and you knew, or they made him gay, playing on the stereotype of pink. You'll never see a straight hero wear pink. Think about all the heroes that do wear pink. Firebrand for one. Elemental Lad, pink in his uniform, and DC says that he's gay. Big Thunder from DC once again.
Well, see, I gotta join
Big
in. I
blazing.
gotta join in right there on pink because he made a very good point. If you think about it, my main character is Pink Hammer. Her color is pink. And if you think about reality, and you know, if you think about pink and women, you kind of come down to September, October, you also think breast cancer month. All right, awareness pink. So there's a lot of hidden messages. I'm sorry, go ahead, sir. I just had to throw that in. Talk about pink, I gotta join.
But with the underground, I mean, there was so much groundbreaking stuff that was done. Larry Palm, I don't know if anybody's familiar with Larry Palm.
Yes.
The first gay comic book came out in the 70s. The title of the comic book was Gay Heartthrobs by Larry Palm.
And that was indie. That was
indie.
very indie. That was back in the day.
Very indie. The underground movement and the underground movement only lasted about a decade. But
Do you know why that ended? Diamond destroyed it.
you know why it ended? Because the taste of the consumer. When in the 80s, the most popular comic books were cartoon characters and superheroes.
No, it was also when Diamond took over and pretty much crushed everyone's printing dreams.
In the 80s, yeah, but the consumers, because the comic book industry is always responsible to consumers.
Oh, yeah.
During the wars, both in World War I and World War II, soldiers bought 45, almost 50% of the comic books. Almost 50% of the comic books produced were about war. The other 50%, because the soldiers were gone and women were home and women were at work, were romance novels. So in the early 40s and 50s, romance novels were big, because women were home, men were at war. Comic books floated that way. As the men came home, they kept up with war comics, but what was big was westerns. The western genre exploded in the 50s. It only lasted about 8 years. Started dying down in the 60s.
That's also a problem with comic books, is that so many times the mainstream comics, at least, are trying to sell to you, while indie, we're telling stories. And I think that's the huge difference. And to go back what he was saying about people changing because to get published, who likes Venom here? Did you know Venom was a girl? The creator of Venom made her a girl. She was meant to be a girl from day one. She was not supposed to be a man. She was supposed to be a woman. Marvel would not believe that a woman could be taken so serious as a Venom. And Venom's not too long ago. Realistically, like, we have to realize where we are in history, that not too long ago there was a lot going on, that right now especially this generation coming up now, they have no clue. I remember the 90s. I remember people being like, you're going to catch being gay. Like it was something you could catch. Like, you know, and then you were like, well, what happens if I'm gay? Like, we didn't understand it, you know, as a culture. Like, as a culture, as a people, we were so stupid. There's no other word to put for it. And now we're so, like, open, but we're not. We're open till we're comfortable. And now we're suddenly like, oh, well, you know, if you're, and it just, if you're not this, I can't be friends with you. And I don't understand how we got there.
Well, Dolphus and I had an experience just this year at MegaCon. T. Frank, the writer of Bingo, And we were going to talk to her, and we had to wait because there was a group. It had to be 9 or 10 girls between the ages of, I'd say, 16 and 19, who were all lesbian. And they wanted to know about her story. They wanted to talk to her about Bingo Love, which is a story about two women who meet in the 60s in church and carry on the sequel. They have an affair then, but they separate. Then they
Don't ruin it, I still have to read it. It's on my reading list.
Anyway, the point I'm making is, we had this group of young ladies who they wanted to talk to someone about their sexuality, about coming out. And they really didn't have anyone else they could talk to. So being able to talk to T. Franklin, the creator of a comic book, being able to talk to her, and T. Franklin herself, she was, they were able to relate to it, and then to watch the end of the conversation, how it ended, where everyone crying, T. Franklin was crying. She was like, this is why I wrote this book, because I want to help someone. There are people out there who they don't have anyone to talk to. They feel isolated, they feel alone. So I'm like, yeah, keep doing the thing, girl.
And that was a fluke. She went to Kickstarter and didn't expect that. I think she asked for $8,000. She netted $80,000.
$80,000.
Yeah, it was a fluke, and by fluke, it was a good fluke. It went to show, and Kickstarter's a funny beast. You can, yes, and she's still trying to deliver everyone who ordered her book. I've actually talked to her on a couple panels that I've been to, because I know a lot of people.
Kickstarters can be very beneficial though, because for my group ICC, we had our magazine ICC funded by Kickstarter.
Yeah.
A lot of girls, they look into Kickstarter also.
Kickstarter is a whole panel in itself.
Yeah.
It is.
But the point of the thing with her and the Kickstarter was that it opened doors. And it opened a conversation like we didn't expect. Because she says it herself, she's a 61-year-old woman who wanted to make a comic book that spoke about her life, and she changed comic books overnight. Because it showed an Image tried to run to catch up, Marvel's trying to run to catch up. Indie comics is now where we're setting the bars, and you're seeing these big companies trying to adjust to us.
I agree.
And it's just the truth, and they keep trying to hire us. And here's the thing, and I can't say the creators because I can't get them in trouble, so obviously I can't say who they are. But I talk to creators who work with Marvel, DC, Image. They hate working for Marvel, DC, Image, because, not Image necessarily. Image usually it's their stuff, and they get to do what they want still. And sometimes
Image was spawned from the mainstream because they were tired of it back then.
So it's not as much Image. Sometimes Image is just the money thing. But from what I've heard from like DC and Marvel is that they're given a book and then told what to do with it. And as a creator, you don't want that. And I've said it many times. I started off coming to indie comics wanting to write for Marvel and DC. I now no longer want to write for Marvel and DC. I would write for Batman if they let me write my Batman story. That would be it. I would be like, I'll do it, but this is the story I want to tell. I want to do a Kevin Smith thing, where I do my story, I don't do it at all. Because I am not making Batman money. I am sorry, I'm not doing it. And that's a big regret of the creator who did that. I'm not going to name them, and everyone can look up who that is, but I know that they regretted having to force, and that's what it is that you have these big companies that are just trying to duplicate what we're doing. So when we write our books, we're passionate about what we're creating.
Exactly.
This is what we want to create. We're not worried about a CEO, we're not worried about making money. And a lot of us want to make money still, but we're not worried about it. We're bravely creating what we want to create.
Bottom line is, it's your own path, it's your own creation. You said everything with that character, you know.
Yeah.
And even though the comics code no longer exists, the books, the mainstream books, still follow the standards.
I don't know about that.
They-
Batman, I'm sorry, but Batman kind of ruined that.
Now you talking
Well,
about reaching.
showing up
Yeah,
Oh,
but you're talking a specific book.
Oh, we got a question in the audience.
Put the earmuffs on for a minute.
No, he's heard something
Okay,
today.
so when
you
Batman
bet
showed
that
his
is
penis, everything changed.
Then you Batman true.
Yeah, everything
but-
changed.
But the only reason they're doing that.
Oh yeah, they printed it.
Yeah.
That's
I read it. I read it.
no, I've seen it. And
You can see it
Google
online.
Just Google.
Yeah.
Google
The
Batman's
backstory,
way.
man.
I'm serious. Batman's way.
I see
It
that
comes up
online.
right away.
I didn't think they printed it.
I was
Yeah, they
impressed.
printed it.
I thought it was a good representation of Batman.
Now, that's the one thing about DC Comics,
Didn't the
that
creator of
I have to
Batman
give
admit that
DC.
Batman was meant to be gay or something like that?
I heard, no, actually, I did hear something about that.
I didn't hear that.
The Batman and Robin thing was kind of,
Yeah.
You know what, that's always, ever since day one. has
but that wasn't the creator. That was
No,
the person
no,
who took
no.
over Batman.
But that
Bob
specific,
Kane?
No, not them. At that point, it was something DC was actually, like he was gonna say DC takes chances.
Yeah, that's one thing about
They
DC.
do, they do.
And it's funny, I grew up reading Marvel, I'm a big Marvel guy. But DC, like I said, the very first gay character from 1941
Yeah.
was from a company that eventually became
You're welcome.
DC.
They got a new comic coming out, it's a black girl. Did you see that?
Which one?
It's a new one, it's a new
saw
character.
What power stuff?
I forgot his name.
well,
There's a
my
new-
first one, I got the entire series after.
Yeah.
But basically,
But
yeah,
then-
basic power.
DC,
Teleportation, she has
between
teleportation,
the gay comics and as far as
stronger.
mainstream black superheroes, DC and the companies that would eventually become DC, they're the ones that started bringing them out. As far as mainstream, but the very first superhero,
Like a Marvel Knight.
the very first, the original superhero,
You call it Black Label or something.
Black Label, yeah,
There's
Black
more
Label.
dope more in it than this.
Like
No,
a
no, no,
DC version
I
of
found out
Marvel
about
Knight.
And he was like, he was pretty much
I didn't know that. Yeah, Marvel
Yeah,
he
he pretty much
was
saw him.
strong and he was enormous.
They added stuff to
And he
make
had his
Superman.
own little uniform, which was his little jump outfit with the red fit.
But it wasn't, that wasn't done by a
Okay.
major publisher at the time, it was done by a mid-level that was taken over by then Timely Comics, which became Marvel Comics. I read a whole history on the comic book things, it's amazing how much we were never told about comic books.
Yeah.
How honestly it's been
That whole
brushed
nine got
under
a movie
the
there.
rug, like it didn't exist, and how much has been, because these big companies take over and they get rid of it. Look at, Malibu, not Malibu, the one where Static Shock is from. And-
Milestone.
Milestone, thank you. Look at Milestone, there was something that was freaking groundbreaking that they killed.
And I bought a lot of
They
those
killed.
books.
You know what, now, I've written,
Well, the guy died, one of the
articles
creators
about this,
died.
but
Yeah.
Milestone, during the nineties, when you had the, what is dubbed the Black Age of Comics,
Mhm.
because you had companies, not only Milestone, but a couple guys who are actually are in the ICC group. John McKellen came out with his comic book. Roosevelt Pitt came out with his comic book, Purge. These guys, you had the whole Amara printing, which is where Charles Washington, the names are escaping me right now. Anyway, during the 90s, these black publishers were averaging sales of 60,000 copies
Yeah, big.
a year during the 90s. And it fell off because as we entered 2000 and mainstream saw that you had an audience, that you had consumers who were interested in buying comic books that had black lead characters, they started following suit. And
They did a poor job.
They did, and the thing is, they pulled everybody in with the promise of something new because it's Marvel, it's DC, you know, in this image, that people want an image comic book. They want a Marvel comic book. And if they can get the black character that they're looking for in a Marvel comic book, then I'm the one that gets screwed because they're not gonna buy my book now. They're gonna buy the Marvel comic book.
I think,
Black character.
but fast forwarding to now, I think consumers know what Marvel and DC and even Image are up to.
Yeah.
They're copycat comics.
Yeah.
They're just copy. They think that they found
Similar.
something, they take 6 months to put it out, and we're still stronger in India.
The
Because we've still been for
consumer's
6 months developing those characters.
Now think about it, I have nothing against mainstream. If I see a good story arc issue, I'll buy it, you know. Even if a series, you know, draws me, I'll still buy it. But think about it, I mean, you got how they create mainstream, they took the Superman, and made him, I think, an Asian Superman, you know, so they were trying to cartel. to-
Well, that was a totally different story.
Yeah.
It was interesting,
For
actually.
the public though, and you think about Green Lantern, they made him, Arabic for a while, I think, or something like that.
No, he's still a Green Lantern, they just
Still-
gave out more rings.
Yeah.
Like Green Lantern, there's
Yeah.
one now,
So
a
they're
dozen
trying,
Green
my point
Lanterns.
is,
The
mainstream
ones
is
that are
trying.
still like three
Yeah.
Aren't there, are they counting the Elseworlds
There's
too?
Hal Jordan, that they're all from the same three sectors. There's Hal Jordan, there's the other guy.
John Stewart and Kyle Ryder, isn't it?
Yeah, and the,
But you
Well,
have
who's
a
it now?
guy,
Is it
you
Green
know,
Lantern?
that's
That's Green Lanterns, and that's,
The
Boz,
two new ones.
Simon Boz, who's
Yeah.
who's Muslim,
Yeah.
and then he's teamed up with Jessica Cruz, who's Hispanic. She has like anxiety
The
issues.
two that's, that get their own title.
Yeah, they're like, they have to share the same lantern, and they're in the thing called Green Lanterns, because that's one of my favorite series.
Right.
Right. So you got a Hispanic woman, and then you got a Muslim man working together and sharing the same battery.
And that's what mainstream is doing now. They're trying to cater to a lot more diversity. But that's something that we've always done ourselves because these are our characters.
Well, we're not catering.
Yeah, exactly. And
We're not
they're
catering.
trying to broaden their audience by doing that.
That's right.
Does it work?
I think so, yeah, because I think that the characters are done very well because they portray Simon as someone who adheres to his Muslim faith, you know, but they do it in a way that doesn't feel like it's being tacked on or it feels preachy, you know. He's like, talks about, you know, his family, his sister, he loves his family and all that, but he believes in his faith, and sometimes he conflicts with what he does out there. And then Jessica, she's a Hispanic woman, and she witnessed like her friends being killed in front of her, and she has like major anxiety issues, and then talks about how she tries to help overcome that because it cripples her a lot, because the ring, of course, you can't use it when you're with fear, and that brings up fear, and then the ring fizzles out, and she's learning how to overcome that, you know? And I think that it really works because it gives both their experiences, and they work together, and even though they're from different faiths and different backgrounds and heritages, they work together because they're in a place where they work with 7,200 lanterns, and they're all from different shapes, sizes, whatever, you know? One's a giant planet, one's a smallpox virus, one's a mathematical equation come to life, you know? It's like when you come to diversity like that, then, you know, that's like nothing compared to all that out there, you know? That's the one of the many good things about Green Lantern, how it definitely shows you